Hi, class. It's a lecture for Sociology 251, Sociology of Religion, Southern Connecticut State University, Fall 2020. Now, I was looking over, the lecture notes that I sent out. That was Chapter 8, and it's on denominations and congregations. And I saw, sometimes this stuff, excuse me, gets a little bit complicated. And it would be best that I give an actual video lecture about this to make things more understandable. So let's start. First thing we deal with here. Well, I'll give you a story, a little anecdote. I live in Hamden, Connecticut, and when I drive down Whitney Avenue and other avenues in Connecticut, I'm always impressed by the number of churches. Okay, all kinds of churches. There's Catholic churches and Greek Orthodox churches and Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist, Lutheran, all sorts of churches all over Hamden. Lots of different Christian denominations. Of course, in Hamden also, there's also synagogues and there's also a mosque or two and other places of worship. But this chapter deals with Christian denominations. Now, I often wonder, how is it possible that there are so many different Christian denominations? Well, how do they develop? And that's what this chapter deals with. Okay, different denominations develop in different ways. And there's about 4 major different ways how denominations develop. Some Christian denominations the congregants, they start to think that, my church, the denomination that I belong to, it's ignoring the original concern for the faith. In other words, Jesus taught, you have to take care of poor people, you have to deal with inequality, all of these things. And sometimes people in a church feel, my church has lost its way. They're not dealing with the original teachings of the religion. So some members of a church, they break away and they form what we call as a sect. Usually, the members who form a sect, these are usually from lower socioeconomic classes. Well, of course, because they feel left out and they feel that the church has ignored them. So they form a separate sect, a breakaway sect. And then over time, people in these sects, if they're successful, the people themselves begin to achieve some affluence. Excuse me. People in these sects originally maybe were poor, were not doing that well, and over time they start doing better. And then the sect itself becomes comfortable with the status quo. They aren't dealing so much anymore with poor people and things like that. And the sect becomes a denomination. It actually becomes a denomination. And then people in the new denomination who feel the church has lost its way, they form a new sect. And, they go on and on and on and on and on. So often this is how a denomination develops. First there's a breakaway sect. And the people in this sect, they say they want to go back to pure original Christianity, however they define it. And they form a sect. They try and go back to pure original Christianity. Members become more affluent. And some of the members say, well, you've lost your way again. And they form another sect, which forms another denomination. Okay. Now, another way that denominations develop is some denominations really express ethnic values. I'll give you an example. There's denomination Christian denomination called Methodists. Okay? But there's also the AME churches, African Methodist Episcopal Church. These are Methodists, but they broke away because they fell. These are African Americans. They broke away a long time ago from the original Methodist Church. Still consider themselves Methodists, say. But they feel they wanted to express their religion also in ethnic terms. Also, you look at Catholic churches, and there's only one Catholic denomination, but within Catholic churches, we know some churches are Italian Catholic, some churches are Irish Catholics, some churches are Polish Catholic, let's say. And what happened here? Immigrants came from the old country, Italy, Poland, Ireland. And the old countries, their main identity wasn't being Catholic. Well, yes, someone from Italy or from Ireland, unless they're from Northern Ireland, of course, or Poland, most everybody was Catholic in these countries. So it was just kind of taken for granted. If you're Irish, you're Catholic. If you're Italian, you're Catholic. If you're Polish, you're Catholic. Coming here to America, being Catholic became a major identity of theirs to go along with their ethnic identity. So here, most Catholics or most Irish or most Polish Americans, big part of their ethnic identity is belonging to Catholic Church. Maybe that's frequented by people from their same ethnic group. Third way, sometimes churches, denominations, they become bogged down in bureaucratic structures. What does this mean? Denomination grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. More members. And some people in these larger denominations, they want a desire for religious groups that are smaller and are less formal, okay, and more personal. So they may form a new denomination. Also, another way denominations develop is that sometimes people want more spontaneity in their religion, more spontaneity in prayers, more singing, more dancing, more movement. And you'll see, this is a lot of the Pentecostalist groups or Catholic charismatic groups. They kind of form their own denominations that are more spontaneous and less involved with bureaucracy. An important thing to remember here is that denominations are groups, religious groups. They're basically part of the same parent religion. In other words, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Baptist, all these Pentecostalists, they're all part of Christianity. That's the parent religion, where originally these groups started. But each of these denominations have their own unique styles of worship and rituals. Okay? So you go into a Methodist church, Baptist, Presbyterian church, Lutheran, whatever, and you could see, well, they're all Christian. They have basic Christian beliefs. And I think the same thing could be said somewhat, for Catholic churches and Greek Orthodox churches. They have basic Christian beliefs, but they have their own unique styles of ritual and own unique styles of worship. How did this particularly develop in the United States? Well, in the United States, we have a separation of church and state. And this gave great freedom in this country for people to worship in the way they please, to go out and form their own churches, right? There was no government telling people how to worship, and the government couldn't stop new denominations and all kinds of religious groups, as was true in other countries where you have a official state religion. Then the chapter deals in something very interesting. They go beyond denominations. And this is a new development. And they talk about trans-denominational evangelicalism. So people speak about evangelicals, right? You hear this a lot in the news. Who are the evangelicals? And we think there's about 65 million evangelicals in the United States. Now, there's really no such thing, official denomination, as evangelical. Evangelicals belong to all different kinds of churches, right? All different kinds of denominations. But they consider themselves evangelicals. So you could have evangelicals that belong to a Lutheran church or a Presbyterian church or a Methodist church or a United Church of Christ or Assemblies of God or whatever. This cuts across denominational lines. These people identify as evangelicals in addition to identifying with the actual churches they belong to. What are the evangelicals, what do they share as far as beliefs? Well, number one, they believe in proselytizing as a central duty of their members, which means they believe in converting people, being evangelicals. Very, very important. And they usually believe in that we're very close to the end times. The end times, the second coming of Jesus. And basically, they usually believe in a literal interpretation of the Bible. But as I said, there's no actual denomination called evangelical. Now, book deals with congregations. Okay, so let's move to the idea of congregations. You're all familiar with congregations. It's the church that people go to, the actual building, the congregation, the church. Okay? The church on Main Street, the church on Washington Avenue, the church wherever. And congregations are very, very important to religion in the United States. Congregations are the main community-based organization that are involved, in religious worship. Congregations have often been very, very ethnically oriented. There may be a church where the services are in Spanish, right? And the priest speaks Spanish. And most of the members are Latino. Okay? You have traditionally black churches, traditionally African American churches. You have every ethnic group. Irish, Italian, Polish, Russian, whatever. And these are congregations. Each congregation itself is very, very strongly based ethnically. This is very, very important because they form a community for these small ethnic groups. They might feed the hungry, clothe the naked, welcome the stranger, care for the sick. They do all of these things. Help in natural disasters. We know if there's a natural disaster, Hurricane Katrina happened a number of years ago, a very bad hurricane. A lot of congregations just mobilized and sent their people out there to help the victims of the hurricane. Also, these individual congregations are often very active in politics. They have tried to get out the vote, and they sometimes actually go and deliver the vote to a particular candidate. Okay, I think I'm going to end here. I hope I've added something to the notes I sent out for Chapter 8. So look, read Chapter 8 and read the notes I sent out for Chapter 8 and listen to this video. And I hope all this three-pronged approach has made this a little more understandable. And please, any questions, I'm very, very glad. That's what I'm here for. Answer any questions you may have. Okay, so take care, be well, stay safe.